Imagine a medieval warlord literally pausing a brutal, blood-soaked siege to ask a question that sounds like like it came straight from a modern used car lot.
Right, a very weird used car lot.
Exactly. The question is, why build a tower when a catapult comes standard with wheels? Welcome to today's deep dive, where we are unpacking just two incredibly bizarre sentences today.
Yeah, it's a very brief source material this time around. Just a single image with some plain text on a yellow background.
But what starts as this, strange, almost anachronistic joke quickly opens up into a massive philosophical debate.
It really does. It operates as this sort of rhetorical black hole. Like, it pulls you in with the absurdity, but the underlying mechanics of what it's actually asking are surprisingly profound.
So let me read the text in its entirety for you so you know exactly what we're dealing with here. It starts with this rather formal heading. Quote, "A not uncommon medieval question of dispute regarding torture, ransom, reward, passion, plight, and pursuit."
Which is quite the mouthful.
I know, right? And then it just hits you with the question itself. Why build a tower when a catapult comes standard with wheels?
It's a lot to process all at once. You have this incredibly heavy, archaic setup just crashing head-on into the language of modern consumer convenience.
Yeah, I am genuinely stumped by the tone here. Half of it sounds like a dusty historical treatise you'd find deep in some university library,
Totally.
And the other half sounds like a late-night television commercial. But that car dealership punchline really doesn't land unless we look at the incredibly heavy setup that comes right before it.
What's fascinating here is the framing of that setup. Let's look at it. A not uncommon medieval question of dispute. The phrasing, not uncommon, is doing a lot of heavy lifting there.
Yeah, it really is.
It immediately dictates the terms of engagement. It tells us this wasn't just a fleeting thought had by, one eccentric architect.
It suggests it was a regular debate.
Well,
I'm picturing scholars and tacticians sitting around this heavy wooden table actually arguing about this stuff.
yeah, a formalized argument.
Okay, let's unpack this, though, because I have to ask about the subject matter of this supposedly common dispute. The list of nouns.
Ah, right, the 6 pillars.
Yeah. Torture, ransom, reward, passion, plight, and pursuit. I really don't understand how these things belong in the exact same category.
How do you mean? Like, what feels off about it to you?
Well, I get ransom and torture, right? Those fit the whole medieval warfare vibe perfectly.
Sure.
But then passion and plight. It feels like we are switching from this grim historical documentary straight into a romance novel.
Right, and then ending with a car chase.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Capping it off with an action movie pursuit.
Yeah.
It's just this massive tonal whiplash, like throwing every genre of human experience into a blender.
On the surface, yeah, absolutely. They seem like a total grab bag. But if you look closely at the underlying mechanics of those 6 conditions, they really aren't random at all.
Wait, really?
Yeah, they represent the absolute extremes of high-stakes human motivation,
Which are-
specifically regarding our agency or, our lack thereof.
Okay, walk me through that. Because to me, physical torture and romantic passion feel entirely disconnected.
Think about it in terms of being acted upon versus taking action. Plight and torture represent extreme vulnerability, external pressures.
Oh, I see. Like things happening to you.
Exactly. Situations where you are totally defensive, where agonizing things are completely out of your control. You are basically trapped in a circumstance.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And the others?
Well, pursuit, reward, and passion are the exact opposite. They are active. They represent moving toward a goal, aggression, intense desire.
So it's covering both bases.
Right. The text is essentially laying out the full spectrum of the human condition. The absolute peaks and valleys where we are pushed to our limits, whether by suffering or by ambition.
So this dispute is basically saying, when you are facing the absolute most intense things a human being can go through,
Right.
whether you're trapped in a terrible plight or chasing something you passionately want, how do you choose to handle it?
That is the core of the debate, exactly. And having established those high stakes, the text transitions to the actual tools we use to address those extremes.
The tower versus the catapult.
Precisely.
Let's break down those tools because they seem to represent two entirely different psychologies. They're fundamentally opposite things.
They are diametrically opposed philosophies of problem solving. A tower represents immense, agonizing effort and Really, the illusion of absolute control.
Illusion.
Yeah, think about the physical logistics of building a medieval tower. You have to quarry the stone, fell timber, lay deep foundations. I mean, it takes years.
It's a massive project.
It requires a tremendous investment of resources. And what is the psychological driver behind all that effort? Like, why do it?
Fear, mostly. I mean, if you're building a tower, you're trying to put a thick wall between yourself and whatever's scaring you outside.
Fear and the desire for permanence.
Yeah.
You build a tower to hide behind, to hold a specific piece of ground, to wait out an enemy.
It's a very defensive mindset.
It is a monument to a defensive mindset. It essentially says, I am staying right here, and I will force the world to deal with my walls.
But practically speaking, isn't that a smart strategy? Like, if I am facing a literal or metaphorical plight, building a solid defense makes sense. It creates safety.
Well, it creates the feeling of safety, but it also creates a trap.
How so?
When you commit to a tower, you are committing to stationary permanence. If the danger moves or if the opportunity shifts, you are stuck holding a piece of ground that might not even matter anymore.
Ah, right. Because you can't exactly pick up a stone tower and move it down the road.
Exactly. You've overinvested in a static solution.
It's honestly like building a tower is like investing in a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage just to win an argument with your neighbor.
That is a perfect way to put it.
Right. Like you're committing to this massive, immovable structure just to prove a point or protect your lawn.
The investment vastly outweighs the agility, yeah.
It reminds me of people who stay in a miserable dead-end job for a decade. They are facing a plight, the job is terrible, but instead of leaving, they build a tower.
Oh, absolutely. They focus on the perks.
Yeah. They focus on the dental plan, the 401k match, the tenure. They basically entrench themselves in the misery because the walls feel safe, even if the inside is literally a dungeon.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, that is a brilliant modern translation of the concept. The sunk cost fallacy just keeps them laying stones.
Yeah, exactly.
Now contrast that psychological state with the catapult.
The catapult is all about kinetic energy. I mean,
Yeah.
it has zero defensive capability. You can't hide behind a catapult.
None whatsoever. It represents targeted destruction and absolute vulnerability. You don't build a catapult to hide behind it. You build it to change the landscape.
Right, it's pure offense.
It's an offensive tool designed to break stalemates, to smash the very walls that other people spent years building.
Okay, so if the tower's staying in the miserable job for 10 years, the catapult is updating your resume and walking out the door. And if the tower is the 30-year mortgage argument, the catapult is putting your argument on a skateboard. It's mobile, it's immediate, it has momentum.
It solves the problem right now.
You roll it up to the neighbor's house, launch your point through their window, and just roll away.
The skateboard analogy actually highlights the most crucial element here, mobility. Which brings us to the phrasing of the punchline itself.
Oh, right.
Because the text doesn't just ask tower versus catapult. It asks why you would build a tower when a catapult, quote, comes standard with wheels.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because the phrase comes standard is the part that completely short-circuits my brain.
Yeah.
It's just so jarring.
Why does it bother you so much?
Because it sounds exactly like a modern car dealership. I can perfectly hear a salesman slapping the side of a wooden siege engine saying, well, sir, the base model trebuchet has heated seats, but I highly recommend the catapult.
It comes standard with wheels and a cup holder.
Yes. Are we honestly supposed to imagine medieval warlords haggling over the trim levels of their weapons? It's absurd.
It breaks the immersion on purpose, I think. See, we tend to view the medieval period, and by extension our own major life struggles, through this lens of high drama.
We really do. We romanticize our plights.
Yes. We imagine ourselves as knights enduring agonizing sieges, draped in all this honor and tragedy.
We want our struggles to feel epic. Like we want the moody lighting, the swelling orchestral music in the background.
Exactly.
We want to believe that our suffering is complex and requires these massive architectural solutions.
And then this text just throws a bucket of cold water on that romance. By framing medieval warfare as a simple consumer convenience, it comes standard. It highlights the sheer absurdity of overcomplicating a problem.
It totally deflates the grandeur of the tower builder.
It really does. It's basically asking, why are you doing all this backbreaking labor to build a monument to your own anxiety when the solution is literally rolling off the assembly line ready to go?
Wow. Yeah, it strips away the ego of suffering.
Precisely. We often think that because a problem is emotionally heavy, the solution must also be heavy and laborious.
Right. Hard work equals a good solution.
But the text mocks that instinct. It suggests that sometimes the most effective solution is just the simplest, most utilitarian option available.
Okay, I want to pressure test this philosophy because it sounds great in theory, but let's apply it back to that wild list of nouns in the title.
Let's do it.
Let's merge the two halves of this text. If we map the tower versus catapult logic onto the specific pillars of human experience they listed, does it actually hold up?
It's a good exercise. Where do you want to start?
Let's start with ransom,
Yeah.
because I am not buying the catapult strategy here. If I am holding someone for ransom, a catapult is terrible military advice.
Why is that?
I need a fortified tower to keep the prisoner secure while I negotiate. You cannot put a prisoner in a catapult. Well, I mean, you shouldn't.
Well, you are assuming you are the one holding the prisoner.
Oh.
What if you are the one extracting the ransom? Or, metaphorically speaking, what if you are trying to extract value from a situation that is withholding it from you?
Okay, I'm listening.
If you sit in a tower waiting for a ransom to be paid or a reward to be delivered, you are relying entirely on passive hope.
You're letting someone else dictate the timeline.
Exactly. A wheeled catapult allows you to actively go extract it. You roll the machine right up to the source of the reward, and you apply kinetic pressure until you get what you want.
So it's the difference between waiting for your ship to come in
Yeah.
and swimming out to meet it.
It's about claiming agency in a transaction, yes.
I can see that. Okay, what about pursuit?
That one is perhaps the most literal of them all. I mean, obviously, a tower is completely useless for pursuit.
Right, because by definition, a tower does not move.
If you are pursuing an ambition, a fleeing enemy, or just a life goal, you cannot do it from a fixed fortress. You fundamentally need mobility.
You can't catch anything if your shoes are made of lead.
Exactly.
Okay, but what about passion? I still think that's a very strange word to include alongside torture and ransom.
Passion is a massive driving force. It's maybe the most volatile of them all. And the question remains the same. How do you manage it?
Right.
Do you build a tower around your passion? Do you lock it up inside a stone vault so it's safe, private, and stagnant?
A lot of people do that, actually. They treat their passions as these fragile things that need to be protected from the world.
They do. And the catapult approach?
Well, the catapult approach says you put wheels on your passion.
Yeah.
You make it explosive.
Yes.
You load it up and launch it outward into the world. I mean, it's risky. It exposes you to judgment and failure, but it's active. It has actual impact.
I really like that framing.
But I have to push back on the negative experiences. Plight and torture. If you are facing a plight, like a truly terrible, threatening situation, don't you want a wall?
It feels like you should.
Right. Someone's trying to torture you, physically or emotionally, throwing rocks at them with a catapult might just escalate the situation. Shouldn't you hide?
This raises an important question, though. Look at the psychology of hiding. If you build a tower to hide from a plight, have you actually solved the plight?
Well, you've created distance from it.
You've created a barrier, sure, but the enemy is still outside. And worse, you've just locked yourself in a stone box with your own anxiety about that enemy.
Oh, I see what you mean.
The plight is now dictating where you live and how you operate. You have essentially surrendered your freedom for the illusion of safety.
Oh, wow. You're right. The tower just becomes its own kind of torture.
The text implies that people who build towers to deal with their plights are fundamentally overthinking it. They are letting fear dictate a massive infrastructural commitment.
Instead of just dealing with it.
Right. They are ignoring the practical wheeled solutions right in front of them.
So the catapult approach to a plight isn't to hide from it. It's to roll right up to whatever's causing the plight, knock it down, and then roll away to your next pursuit.
Exactly.
Like, don't build a monument to your own suffering. Address the root cause with overwhelming kinetic action.
Address it and then remain mobile. That's the key of the wheels. The catapult doesn't stay where it fired, it moves on.
It's just wild to me that such a dense, intricate psychological analysis can be pulled from a literal joke about medieval engineering.
It's incredibly layered.
It completely dismantles our instinct to overcomplicate our lives. And it does it with the cheerful, breezy tone of a used car salesman pointing out a cup holder.
It forces us to examine our own reflexes, When faced with stress or desire or conflict, are we tower builders by nature or are we catapult users?
Right. Do we default to entrenchment or do we default to action?
And usually entrenchment feels like the responsible choice because it's hard work. We convince ourselves that because building the tower was exhausting, it must be valuable.
But we're just gathering heavy stones when we could literally just be putting the problem on wheels.
The text proves that profound philosophical insights don't require encyclopedic volumes of text. Sometimes they just require two contrasting ideas rubbing up against each other in a deeply absurd way.
Let's pull this all together for you.
Yeah.
We started today looking at a tiny, strange snippet of text about medieval weaponry.
Very strange.
Yeah, and what initially seemed like a jarring mix of archaic warfare and modern car salesman lingo turned out to be a masterclass in human psychology.
Truly. We unpacked how we handle our greatest extremes: torture, ransom, reward, passion, plight, and pursuit.
And we realized that whether you are fighting a historical siege or navigating a modern career crisis, mobility and action almost always beat stationary entrenchment.
We learned to stop romanticizing our struggles and start looking for the practical, wheeled solutions.
But before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a different angle on this to think about. We spent this whole time praising the catapult for its mobility and its ability to smash through problems.
Right.
But there's a catch to the kinetic approach.
Think about the mechanics of the catapult itself. Yes, it's mobile. Yes, it's active. But a catapult requires ammunition.
Oh, that's true.
It consumes resources specifically to cause destruction. When you launch a massive stone, you don't always get to control where the shrapnel lands.
Right. A tower might be a trap, but a catapult is inherently destructive.
Exactly. So the question to ask yourself as you face your own plights and pursuits isn't just whether you should stop building walls and put your problem on wheels.
It's about the fallout.
Yes.
Hmm.
The question is, if you choose the kinetic option, are you prepared for the collateral damage when you finally pull the lever? Action always has a blast radius.
Are you ready for the impact?
Yeah.
That is a very heavy thought to take with us. Sometimes the dusty textbook isn't what you need to understand yourself. Sometimes you just need a weird internet image about a siege engine. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.